You ever get that kind of knock on your door that tells you right away, this ain't neighborly? That's how it started for me. Middle of a quiet Saturday morning, sun cutting through the pines. And there was bam, bam, bam. 3 sharp hits like someone on the place. And the thing is, they didn't. Because nobody owns that stretch of forest but me. 40 acres of pine rock. And creek passed down from my father and his father before him. I live out here for the quiet. For the kind of peace you only get when the birds are your neighbors and the loudest noise is a breeze shifting through old trees. But that knock didn't belong. I looked through the side window, and sure enough, 2 guys, tactical gear, unmarked SUV behind them, standing like they were posing for a recruitment poster. The taller one had that fake badge confidence, the kind of swagger you only get when you think you've got authority. He banged again. "This is Serenity Pines Community Enforcement. Open the door. You're in violation." Now, let me paint the picture real clear. There is no HOA out here. No gates, no manicured lawns. Just me, a cabin, and a whole lot of trees. So when a man in combat boots tells me I'm in violation on my own land, I know we're about to have a problem. I open the door just enough to speak. Calm, respectful. "Can I help you?" He points vaguely toward the creek and says, "You've got unauthorized construction. We're going to need you to vacate the area immediately." And right then, I smiled. One of those tired, seen too much smiles. Let my jacket fall open just enough to show the badge clipped to my belt. "Gold. Real. I'd love to chat," I said. "Name's Sheriff Carter Beckett. This is Monroe County. And you're not any kind of enforcement I recognize." Their faces changed like someone had cut the power. The tall one froze. His partner's hand dropped away from his sidearm like it had burned him. I used that voice, the one I hadn't pulled out in years. "Stay right there." But they didn't. They just gave each other a look, turned, and walked back to their SUV like robots on a reset cycle. No argument. No fight. Just gone. And that should have been the end of it. But I knew better. Because men like that don't walk unless they've been trained to. And trained men don't show up unless someone sends them. So how we get here? That's a story. Started 4 months earlier, right after I buried my dad. Cancer. Long, brutal fight. He went down swinging. After the funeral, I stopped pretending like I was fine. Took some weekends off from the sheriff's office. Started spending time at the cabin, the one he built with his own 2 hands. Just me, the forest, and the ghosts. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for healing. That changed the day I started fixing the dock. Just an old fishing spot he used to love. Half-rotted, nails popping out, boards ready to collapse. Fixing it felt like a tribute. Next day, I found a laminated notice tacked to a tree. "Cease all construction immediately. Serenity Pines. No signature. Just bold print. No HOA here. Never was." I laughed, crumpled it, and tossed it in the fire pit. A week later, I found yellow tape, "Community Enforcement, Do Not Enter," handwritten in Sharpie. That's when I stopped laughing. Then came the anonymous complaint, filed through proper channels, claiming I was eroding the creek bed and violating county regulations. My county, my office, they used my system against me. It wasn't just a nuisance anymore, it was strategic. So I called Deputy M, a sharp, no-nonsense woman who's probably twice as smart as me and half as patient. Told her everything. "I want names," I said, "and I want them quietly." She dug fast. Within an hour, she traced the SUV to a shell corp in Delaware, then Wyoming. The company behind it? A security consultancy called Warden Ridge. Fancy name, shady records. And the money? All coming from one place, Serenity Pines Development LLC, owned by a guy named Douglas Varelli. I didn't know it then, but I just said his name for the first time in what would become a very long game. Now, Varelli wasn't a local. He was a corporate type, clean suits, clean hands, dirty everything else. He'd bought up a bunch of land nearby, carved out a gated community in the middle of nowhere, and filled it with million-dollar houses and million-dollar secrets. I figured it was time to pay the man a visit. Dressed up nice, pressed shirt, tie, the official jacket with the county seal. If he was going to meet the sheriff, he was going to know he met the sheriff. His compound, because that's what it was, sat on the tallest hill in the area, looking down on everything like a king's perch. His house looked like it belonged in a magazine, not the woods. He met me at the door himself, all fake charm and crocodile smiles. "Sheriff Beckett, what a pleasure," he said, shaking my hand like he wanted to measure my grip. I told him straight. "Two of your boys showed up on my land with weapons and threats. You want to explain that?" He played dumb, apologized without saying sorry, called it a misunderstanding about property lines, said his team gets overzealous. I wasn't buying it. "This ain't about aesthetics or borders," I told him. "It's targeted harassment. First notes, then tape, then legal complaints. You want something on my land, and you're trying to smoke me out." His smile didn't budge, but I saw the flicker in his eyes. Calculating. "Cold. I'll look into it," he said. "Personally." That was his move. Smooth words. "No promises. Just enough rope to hang you with." 2 days later, I get called into a meeting with the county board. A formal complaint's been filed against me. Abuse of power, intimidation, retaliation. It was Varelli's move, no question. But the name on the complaint? Anonymous resident. I walked out of that office burning with quiet fury. He wasn't playing a game. He was laying a trap, and the walls were closing in. So he went deeper. And I combed through every filing, every purchase, every whisper of activity. And late one night, called with a bombshell. "Carter," she said, voice sharp with adrenaline, "he's buying mineral rights, water rights, subterranean access. Not just around you, around your land. A perfect circle. And mine." I asked. "You're the bull's eye." I couldn't sleep that night. I hired a private surveyor. Trusted guy. Told him to scan every inch of my land, top to bottom. A week later, he sent the report. Most of it was dry reading, soil levels, aquifers, bedrock, but the last page, that one changed everything. A large artificial structure buried 75 feet beneath my cabin. Cold War era. Self-contained. Man-made. Not a dock dispute. Not a land grab. They wanted what was under my home, and they were willing to go to war for it. That night, I knew what was coming. I turned the cabin into a fortress, boarded up the weak spots, loaded my rifle, called M, and told her to get the tactical team ready. "Wait for my signal," I said. "The nightingale is singing." It hit at 11:17 p.m. Power cut. Signal jammed. Shadows moving around the perimeter. Professional tactics. Flanking maneuvers. I held my ground. One came through the front. I dropped him with a shot through the window. Another breached the back. I took him down in the kitchen. A third grazed my arm. I kept moving. And then, Varelli himself showed up, standing outside with a megaphone like a damn movie villain. "You could have sold," he said. "But now look at this mess." He called the structure a lifeboat for the elite, a safe house for the end of the world. Said I couldn't comprehend what I was protecting. Maybe I couldn't, but I knew what I wasn't going to do. Give it to him. I reached for the encrypted radio. "The nightingale is singing," I whispered, and 10 minutes later, the woods lit up like a state fair. Red and blue, sirens screaming, tactical boots hitting dirt. They swarmed the place like divine judgment. Varelli and his men didn't stand a chance. By morning, the feds were crawling over my cabin. They found the bunker, called it the cache, said it was a data haven, off-grid, untraceable, filled with evidence that could burn half the world's boardrooms to ash. Varelli wasn't the king. He was the gatekeeper, and I was the pest that wouldn't die. Weeks passed. Statements, debriefings, classified files. Then one night, just when I thought it might be over, the secure line on my desk rang. "Sheriff Beckett," said the voice, low and level. "This is Deputy Director Owens." Varelli was a symptom, not the disease. "The people behind him, they know who you are." Line went dead, and I stood there, staring out at the quiet streets of my little town, knowing full well that my name wasn't just on a ballot now. It was on their list. So here I am, still sheriff, still standing. But I don't sleep as easy, because the war at my cabin is over. But the war for this country's soul, that's just getting started. If you've ever tangled with power like this, corrupt HOAs, corporate bullies, or shadowy land deals, drop your story in the comments. Do you think Sheriff Beckett did the right thing? Or should he have walked away before the storm came? Let's talk about justice, community, and the thin line between law and control. Hit that like if you believe in standing your ground. And subscribe if you want more real stories from the edge.